listening to PodCatalyst, the official podcast of IABC, where communicators from around the world tell their stories. Let's get started with today's episode.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kristen Frankevich, your host for today. We've got a special episode, something we're calling Overheard at World Conference. Earlier this summer, IABC held its World Conference in Chicago, and I was fortunate enough to get to meet a ton of our members over the course of 4 days. In between sessions, I caught up with folks and asked them for their aha moments, so consider this episode a peek into the minds of your IABC peers. But before we get started, we wanted to take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Edgewood College. If you're ready to unlock your potential and lead with confidence, check out Edgewood College's innovative Business Communication and Leadership online master's program. Experience curriculum that addresses the real-world challenges facing business communication professionals today. Sharpen your mastery in areas such as persuasive storytelling, digital literacy, and personal and professional branding. In as few as 10 months, you'll graduate ready to excel in today's dynamic business landscape. Visit online.edgewood.edu to learn more. And thanks again to our sponsor, Edgewood College. I'd also like to thank the many people who are open to chatting with me throughout the course of World Conference. I had a great time getting to know each of you that week with my tiny mic in tow. So let's get into this episode. Day one set the tone with our first spotlight speaker, Oscar Munoz, former United Airlines CEO. He shared hard lessons learned from a 37-day listening tour that ultimately helped turn the company around in the long run. And if you want to hear directly from Oscar, we had a chance to interview him earlier in the year on this podcast, so feel free to scroll back and find that. But throughout his session, he really emphasized the importance of storytelling and the roles communicators can play. In this section, we'll hear a few takeaways from people coming fresh out of Oscar's talk.
And I'll just ask you, so Amy Maddox, I'll ask you, feel free to hold on to that and go ahead and introduce yourself just so I've got it.
Sure, I'm Amy Maddox. I'm the communications manager for Toyota Production Engineering Division in North America.
So we were just talking about Oscar's session about building relationships, trust, and leadership. Can you tell me a little bit from your perspective, why are those soft skills so important in the role of the communicator and helping the team outward build those relationships?
What I heard from Oscar was the art of telling the story, and that it comes from the heart, and that it's not just a directive or a missive from above, that everyone is expected to entertain and enjoy, that they need to tell the story to get the buy-in, the what's in it for me, to have consensus across the organization.
Okay. Do you want to go next? Yeah, tell me what stood out to you during that session. I mean, what was it about storytelling, relationship building that resonated with you?
Sure. I think one of the things that Oscar talked about was that leadership takes courage. I think a lot of communicators aspire to be in leadership positions, but he also said, be careful what you wish for, because it can be lonely at the top, and you have to have courage in those roles, because sometimes you have to put yourself out there and take responsibility as a leader for something that may not necessarily be your fault, but as a leader, the buck stops with you. The other piece that really resonated for me is just his communication is, you can tell it's authentic, and he is who he is. And I think as leaders, that's another challenge. And as communicators, we have to be authentic, because your audience will know whether you're authentic or not right away. So just be true and let the truth lead the way.
Thank you so much, Richard. All right. Malika, go ahead. Can you introduce yourself, please, briefly?
Sure. Malika Sharudi. I am from RICO, and I am Global Communications Lead based in Amsterdam. And one of the things I really enjoyed about that conversation was just about how warmth and values and people should be at the heart of everything that you do in communications. And now in an age where we're relying a lot on AI, I found really kind of impactful what he said about how AI exists and artificial intelligence exists because real human intelligence exists. And I think that's so important that we don't lose the value of that. And the value of that is just unique storytelling and unique experiences. And when you have such great experience like Oscar has, and you go through crisis and you come back from it, it's just always so inspiring for another comms person to hear. And I really think that I'm just going to carry that into what I do next, and and take on those learnings.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lauren, thanks for talking to me for a second. So I'm wondering, was there anything in particular that stood out to you in terms of that relationship building aspect? Where do you see a little bit of that in your own work?
So for me in my own work over the past 18 years or so, relationship building has been truly the key to getting a seat at the table from a communication perspective. So in speaking with leaders and working with other departments, it's so important to have those relationships and to kind of build the rapport, but also learn to speak their language in making sure that we understand what they're talking about. They understand that we can kind of translate that, so to speak. And that we're here to support them. So to me, building relationships is critical skill that is needed in communications, and that whether you love people all the time or not, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it is something that you have to kind of get out of your comfort zone and do if you want to be successful.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Kristen.
So now we're recording take 2. You can actually say your name.
My name is Catherine Aruda.
Great. So, Catherine, tell me a little bit. We were sitting in that session with Oscar just now. I want to hear from you. What got your gears turning in terms of, building relationships, building trust, and the role of the communicator?
I think what resonated with me the most was when he mentioned how trust and transparency kind of go together. I think that's something that I value a lot, transparency in the workplace. I think if everyone's kind of operating under that same idea, then that's where you can build trust and know that you're operating with integrity and sort of everyone ends up on the same page.
If you'd like to say your name into the mic as well.
I'm Stephanie DiCarlo.
So, Stephanie, for you, I'm curious, what's your take on storytelling and the role of the communicator? Why is that so foundational for us to kind of go back to our roots as storytellers?
I think, and I was actually thinking about this after his talk, was it really, instead of being kind of like talked at, I feel like I'm being told something, and it holds my attention. It's something that I get to think about. It's just interesting. I think sometimes we might not think as much about like what really just interests us, and I think I walked away feeling interested and like I learned something.
Great.
We also heard from Kim Clark on lessons around inclusion and how pain pushes until vision pulls. And Catherine Sanderson walked us through the science of happiness. Let's hear more from a few folks on what caught their attention from these spotlight sessions.
Hi, my name's Emily. I'm from Australia. I just came out of the session with Kim Clark, and probably a key takeaway for me was looking at everything through that inclusion lens when you're looking at a strategy. I think we sometimes tend to leave inclusion and DEI to HR or somebody else, and I think that it's a really good reminder to just can always look at things differently and, with fresh perspective, and inclusion is really important.
I guess my name's Cara. I'm from Marleb in Sydney, Australia. Also just came out of the Kim Clark spotlight. My key takeaway, I think, was that we as communicators, we as humans can't take anything for granted and shouldn't take the world around us for granted. But as communicators, we are in a position to make that change and drive that change that we want for the world.
All right, so we just came out of the closing session for the day with Catherine Sanderson about the science of happiness. So I'd love to hear from you all. What was something that really resonated and that you plan to take home with you?
So I think there were a lot of things, certainly looking through my notes, that she gave us that were really helpful. There was one thing that sort of tied together that when I look back on my experience, in fact, coming into my work experience, when I was in high school, I had met with a guidance counselor because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. She actually had approached me and asked me to fill out a questionnaire because she was moving into doing other work in her profession. And that's what kickstarted me choosing comms as a profession. When I graduated from my first diploma, which was at the college that was next door to my high school, I said to my folks, can we pop in and see if she's there? And she was, and I had a chance to thank her personally. as part of our decision together of what programs I would take, the university that I did a number of years later was part of that decision. And when I graduated, I looked her up and sent her a long email to thank her again and to say that I had actually gone through with that second part of the plan and sent her a photo with the degree.
That's great. Love that.
So it's a great chance to share that gratitude.
Great. Thank you so much, Jay.
So for me, it would definitely be the maintaining the relationships, but also picking good relationships to maintain. I am somebody who is a people pleaser, loves people, but really honing in and protecting and maintaining and building those core relationships. This session really solidified the importance of that and how that's going to help me in the future as I grow as a professional and also just on a personal level.
Great. Thank you, Matisse.
I think there were some really good takeaways in this session, but I think for me, the strongest one was probably how you're spending your money and to spend it on experiences, because she made such a good point that not only do you have that experience and you're probably doing it with at least one person who you have a relationship with or a group, but you also have the anticipation of the experience itself, and then all the memories related to that positive experience. So it was a really good way to look at how you can utilize something really tactical and tangible to have those positive outcomes.
Thank you so much, Paige.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everyone for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
In between breakout sessions, I caught folks in the hallway and wanted to understand what they were learning from the wide range of speakers we hosted this year. Coming up, you'll hear a few light bulb moments, from the way communicators are thinking about AI to better practices for accessibility, rethinking their work with cognitive biases in mind, training the next generation of comms pros, and so much more.
Oh my gosh, the tiny mic.
It's the tiny mic.
I've never gotten to hold one. Okay, so I'm Amy Dixon. I'm at Colleges Ontario in Canada, and the session I just attended was by Martin Waxman, who's a fellow Canadian, and he was speaking about generative AI and building bridges. I think that was the title. Essentially, what I was looking to get out of it was tools that I may not know about, policy development, what other people are doing, where we're going, what it means for communications, and he delivered all of that. So it was a really good session, took back some interesting key learnings, and heard from people from around the world, like South Africa, Europe. People around the world are trying to wrap their heads around this. So we're all in the same boat. So
Right.
It was a great session.
Good. Was there any particular tool or approach that kind of took you a second and
using AI as a starting place to generate your policy?
Great.
Possibly. In terms of other tools, I'd have to check my notes. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. Well, and Martin has the Future of Learning Institute is a place that he sits on the board of or helps run, and that's on LinkedIn. So I followed that. So that'll probably give me some good tips.
A lot of good follow-ups for you after this.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for talking to us.
Yeah,
We
anytime.
appreciate it. I'll let you hold that. So go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll ask the question.
My name is Chantel Hart. I'm a communications specialist at TJX Canada.
So tell me a little bit, what session did you just come out of?
Yeah, so I just came out of a session on generative AI. And I think what I found most interesting was, so I attended last year's IABC conference when there was a lot of discussion about kind of the early stages of AI. So to come back a year later and to see like all of the like growth and all of the capabilities, it's just been like amazing to see. And it just makes you think about how you can kind of leverage that for your role in your business as well.
Great. Can I ask you, in what ways are you thinking about AI or exploring it yourself?
So we are kind of exploring it to some degree now with some scripts, so using like an AI voice. But even just taking information and dissecting it, we often get a lot of feedback from our stores, and that when you look at like an Excel file with like all these words and ideas, it's really hard to dissect that. But even something as simple as using AI to kind of dissect all that feedback and like tell a story based on what people have shared is something that might be of interest.
Great, thank you.
And then feel free to introduce yourself. And I would love to know the same. What session did you come from, and what was most interesting to you?
Great. I'm Leanna, also from TJX Canada. I'm a communications manager there for all our stores across Canada. I just came out of the impact communications and making your communications more accessible, which is very interesting. We are a little bit less advanced at our store level with technology, but it really gave me some great ideas about how to make sure our communications are accessible for all our audiences, and specifically when using images or anything that may have an action towards a communication, really kind of understanding where your audience is at and what they would need to digest the information and then make it usable.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for your time.
This is Arnab, and I went to this Cognitive Biases in Communications to Stay, Slay, or Silence by Catherine Fassett. And I found that absolutely amazing because I faced this actual problem 10 years back when I was writing a job description for a role on my team. And I did not understand how my own biases could influence the job description that I was writing and create exclusion of genders and who would apply and how that would influence their thoughts about the job. And it was eye-opening for me for the first time that words that I have been using could have such powerful impact that I had not thought about. And so today when she was speaking about all the cognitive biases, all of those optimism biases, I felt, yeah, she's checking all of those boxes and beautifully articulating it so that we are more critical in finding the time to review our work on those biases. Does that answer your question?
That's great. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm here with Sarah McGinnis with the University of Calgary. Sarah, we just came out of the AI dialogue den with Bonnie Caver, and there was really good discussion around how can we bridge the gap between theory of practice for our students and the real world, especially as tools and technology like AI are emerging. So you had a really great story to share about some of the work the University of Calgary is doing to help students bridge that gap and get the experience they need in the real world.
Absolutely, and I think it really is about bridging strategy and experience. We offer the Communication Specialist program. So our students, fresh from walking the stage at convocation, we take those new communicators with no experience and we hire them for 2-year terms. Bring them in cohorts of 4 or 5, and we teach them tactical things like how to do e-marketing or how to write a newsletter, but then we also pair it with some training that we do for ourselves. It's been phenomenal. They have been wonderful additions to our workforce. They've also brought a spirit to us, and it's allowing our senior communicators to learn how to mentor and grow. What we're finding is 100% of the students who've taken part in the program after 2 years have been hired into jobs within 3 months, most before they leave us, and 77% have chosen to stay at the University of Calgary in our comms world. So we just make space and then share practical knowledge and also give them a chance to grow themselves.
That's great. And that's really interesting. I know there was a lot of discussion just now about, what does AI mean for that entry level work? And again, just wanted to reiterate the work you're doing to help students gain that strategy experience that folks in the workplace are looking for is so important and so interesting. So thank you again for sharing a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
One of your aha moments.
Hi, I'm Chris Lee. I'm with the IABC Toronto chapter as a volunteer, and I just got out of Arlene or Mitch Trigala's session on compassion in communications, and it's a really big aha because I think often in communications we spend a lot of time thinking about transactionally what do we need to communicate, what kind of language, what kind of channels do we need to use, how is it going to land, but I think it's important. So many of the things that we communicate about, especially around change and challenges that organizations are facing, it's really important to understand all perspectives and think about how our communications are impacting people emotionally. And so I think it was a big aha for me, and just a reminder for all of us to exercise compassion in not just our day jobs as communicators, but just as human beings.
Okay, so I'm Tembisa Machele. I am the head of communications for the financial sector regulator in South Africa called the FSCA.
So, Lisa, thank you so much for talking to me for a second. We just came out of this session with Katie McCauley, lessons learned from her podcast about internal communications. What really stood out to you? What's that nugget you're going to be really jotting down and taking back home with you?
So I absolutely loved Katie. She was so amazing. So many nuggets in my bag right now. I'm struggling to sift through them and pick just the one, but I will try. So I think one of the most important things that she said is, the power of building relationships and trust before you need it. And I think, that speaks to the reputational capital that you build up for your organization, for yourself, for your team. And, building those relationships before you actually need to cash in, so to speak, on any of that. And I think that's important because as people that work in comms, internal comms, external comms, just comms across the board, it's important to know that it's all relationship driven. Very little of it is about your tactics and all of that. Yes, those are great. But if you don't have relationships where you are trusted, none of that really matters.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Oля Klimenko. I'm with Vision to Voice Internal Communications Agency, and this is my second conference. What I can say about the conference is IABC World Conference is where learning meets excitement. I made lots of meaningful connections with communication professionals. I gained thought-provoking insights that challenge and inspire. And most importantly, I enjoyed plenty of fun-filled moments. So it's not only about learning, but it's also about having lots of fun and having genuine connections.
All right. Thank you.
One thing I appreciated during the week was getting to know a few first-time attendees and student members. I've often heard people talk about World Conference as a place they return to reconnect with people they've met in years past and to continue that learning journey they've experienced. But before you can build those years-long relationships and continue on that journey, you really do have to be a first-timer. So I made sure to talk with a few of those folks, hear what they had to say, and see what they were learning coming out of sessions.
All right, so go ahead. You can share your name, where you're from, and what's a light bulb moment you're taking back home with you.
My name is Jennifer Walsh, and I'm from Houston, Texas. And this is my first time at the IABC conference, and I have taken so much away from this experience of having real tangible things that I'm going to take back with me and be able to use right away. In particular, the whole AI experience. And I went to 2 different sessions, and I already know that it's going to change how I work. I've already been messaging my team on what they need to be doing differently, how we can utilize this. And really, it was a safe space for me to be able to learn it because I was a little bit afraid. I didn't quite know what it was or what to do. And I consider myself a little more tech savvy, but this was one area that I just hadn't quite gotten brave enough to say, I don't know. And here I was able to know in a place where everybody was welcoming and kind, and I can go back and get started.
That's great. Jennifer, thank you so much. We're so happy to hear that. We're happy to have you here as a first-timer. Good luck going back to your team and working on that. We can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Thank you so much. I love being here.
I'm Kristen Baez. I am here at the conference representing One Oak from Tulsa, Oklahoma is where our headquarters is, though we have assets up and down the midstream continent. Oh my gosh, I'm excited to bring so much back to my team. I'm so sad that they weren't able to be here with me so that we could divide and conquer and get the most out of this conference. I think some of the biggest takeaways so far for me have been, one, the importance of what we do, that what we do matters so much, and the importance of putting people first. And that's something that our leadership, we have an incredible leadership team, but our leadership we're a natural gas pipeline company, and we always hear people over pipes, people before pipelines, because the people are what matters. In storytelling, it's the people first, and allowing the people to have a voice and using them in our communications and in our publications. And also, one of the great sessions I attended yesterday was on giving up control, employee-led brand transformation. And I think I gained so much from that. And then the Taylor Swift session was amazing also. And just the applicability and the opportunity to stop listening and think about how you can apply that. And I have like 6 pages of notes already, and it's only the beginning of day 2 to bring back to my team. So I don't even there's so much I'm excited to bring back.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that, Kristen. And I know you're a first-time attendee as well, so welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And can't wait for you to bring those notes back to your team.
Thanks so much, Kristen.
So I'm Hendrix Valencia from the Philippines. I'm from the De La Salle College of St. Benil, working for the Benildian, which is the official student publication of the De La Salle College of De La Salle College of St. Benil. So yesterday I just came from this seminar from Mr. Sangiovanni from Subway. It was titled "How Subway Set Clarity as the Cornerstone of Communication," and was definitely mind blowing for me, because me personally, I'm also a business student, and I can also relate to the business model, strategies of these companies, and it was very enlightening and somehow engaging of how the way he speaks. I learned a lot, definitely, of course, especially in engaging with your target audience, and that's definitely a mind-blowing seminar for me. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
Is it recording?
Yes,
okay,
we're on.
So hello, I'm John from the Philippines. So I am currently the customer support editor of Adastra the Benildian Yearbook, an organization under our college. And so my light bulb moment, I think, is the giving up control, employee-led brand transformation, because it sets the importance of how you treat your employees. So for instance, I'm a head of a section of our organization, and that it is important that your members, for example, your employees, are the ones that are setting the branding of your company. And so it also gives a glimpse that you're treating them very well.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
So hi, I'm Louis from the Philippines. So I am part of the De La Salle College of St. Benil's Envoy. So we are part of the student publications unit. So one of the sessions that I love the most is a speaker that had said that overcoming the hot stress in communication, he gave us an abbreviation that we should remember by. That is, as far as I remember, it's LEARN. So that's learn. So it's long. So in every situation, in a moment that you feel stress or any adversity, you should learn how to compose yourself. So longs means inhale and exhale. Before you speak, you should clear your mind and not don't let your emotions run by you. So in every companies, in every organization that you handle as a communication leader, one should be composed. One should be really there's a notion that you should be saying that you should think twice, you should think 3 times before speaking, because you're tapping not just a professional level but also the emotional aspect when it comes on how you speak and how you could influence individuals in your organization. So
Great.
that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it, especially as first-time attendees. We're happy to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all.
Last but not least, I caught up with Mike Klein of We Lead Comms after our closing session with Julian Treasure, who helped us reacquaint ourselves with the practice of listening to others. Mike founded We Lead Comms in 2021 as a way to spotlight communication leaders, and to date they've featured more than 800 honorees and recently hit a milestone of over 14,000 followers on LinkedIn. Given Mike's experience of shining a light on others and the role he's played in the IABC community, I wanted to see what he thought about Julian's message around the power of listening.
So I'm here with Mike Klein of Lead Comms. Mike, there's a lot of parallels in the work you do, I think. We just came out of this session about listening and how to understanding. What did you take away from that session with Julian Treasure?
Well, I think the main thing that I took was really about how to slow down the processing process. Like when you hear something, the opinions, the filters, all of that stuff. To get some consciousness around it, get some control over those filters, and actually be able to get to the intention behind what's being said.
Appreciate it.
You are welcome.
So that brings us to the end of our hallway conversations, and that's a wrap on World Conference 2024. If you're interested in getting more takeaways, our team wrote up a list over on Catalyst, which we'll put in the show notes of this episode. Thanks again to everyone who spoke with me, and again to our sponsor of this episode, Edgewood College. Next year, World Conference will be in Vancouver, June 8th through 11th. For more information, you can visit wc.iabc.com. We hope to see you there, and thanks for tuning in today.